Has Caitlin Clark already reached her breaking point with the Indiana Fever? After weeks of controversy, viral moments, and nonstop speculation, fans are asking a question nobody imagined they'd be asking this soon. Is the biggest star in women's basketball becoming frustrated with the very franchise built around her? The rumors have spread across social media like wildfire. Every sideline reaction gets analyzed. Every post-game quote gets dissected. Every coaching decision becomes another piece of evidence in a growing debate. And after one dramatic overtime battle, many fans became convinced that something inside the Fever organization had changed forever. But is Caitlin Clark really done with Indiana? Or has a season filled with pressure, expectations, and controversy created a narrative that has taken on a life of its own? By June 2026, the Indiana Fever had become one of the most discussed teams in professional sports, not just in the WNBA, in all of sports. Every game generated headlines. Every Caitlin Clark performance dominated social media. Every Fever loss became a national discussion. That kind of attention comes with enormous benefits. It also comes with enormous pressure. As the season unfolded, fans began noticing something unusual. The conversations surrounding the Fever weren't just about wins and losses anymore. They were becoming increasingly focused on relationships, chemistry, and trust. Whenever the Fever struggled offensively, criticism followed. Whenever Clark appeared frustrated, screenshots circulated online. Whenever a coaching decision didn't work, thousands of fans immediately connected it to a larger theory. The spotlight grew even brighter when conversations surrounding head coach Stephanie White became impossible to ignore. Coaching in professional basketball is already difficult. Coaching a team led by the most famous player in the sport is something entirely different. Every decision becomes public. Every substitution gets questioned. Every play call gets analyzed. And that's exactly what happened throughout the Fever season. Fans began scrutinizing White's comments during post-game interviews. Some supporters believed Clark deserved more recognition after certain performances. Others argued White was intentionally emphasizing team basketball instead of individual accomplishments. That difference in interpretation created a massive divide among fans. One group saw strong leadership.
Stephanie White refuses to credit Caitlin Clark, especially in front of the team. Like, she already didn't want to give her no credit for the game winner versus the Washington Mystics when she bailed her out. Now Caitlin Clark bailed you out again, you and Kelsey Mitchell, but for whatever reason, you want to keep trying to credit Kelsey Mitchell at the podium. It's weird. It's odd. It makes no sense.
Many coaches operate exactly the same way. They avoid singling out players too frequently because they want to reinforce a team-first culture. However, when the player involved is Caitlin Clark, ordinary coaching philosophies can become extraordinary controversies. Every word suddenly carries additional meaning. Every omission becomes noticeable. Every comment gets interpreted through multiple lenses. As pressure mounted, fans began connecting unrelated events together.
Really good job here. Okay, really good job. We weather the storms, okay? We came together. Y'all, I heard you more in huddles and in timeouts than I've heard you all year long. That mattered, that mattered, right? The collective positivity, the collective accountability, talking each other up, that is huge.
One reaction led to another discussion. One game led to another controversy. The result was a growing perception that something larger was happening behind the scenes. Whether that perception was accurate became almost secondary, because once a narrative gains momentum, it becomes difficult to stop. The Fever were no longer just trying to win basketball games. They were trying to navigate constant public scrutiny. And that scrutiny reached a boiling point after one unforgettable matchup. June 2026 delivered one of the most dramatic games of the WNBA season. Indiana versus Chicago. A rivalry already packed with emotion. A rivalry already guaranteed to attract national attention. And on that night, Caitlin Clark delivered exactly the type of performance fans had come to expect from a superstar. She scored. She created opportunities. She controlled the pace. She delivered under pressure. The game evolved into a tense battle that eventually reached overtime. Every mistake felt costly. Every decision carried extra weight. The atmosphere was electric. As the game progressed, fans began focusing intensely on several late-game possessions. Questions emerged immediately. Why was a certain play called? Why wasn't the ball in Clark's hands? Why did the offense look different in critical moments? Those questions spread rapidly online. Basketball fans love analyzing strategy.
I think I said this when C was drafted here. It's like when you have the bookends, when you have a point guard, and you have Caitlin Clark. I think I said this when C was drafted here. It's like when you have the bookends, when you have a point guard, and you have a center, that are special. You can build a team around that, and certainly then you add in Kelsey, who had already been here, and she had a quiet 19.
She checked in the game. It's the same play as last time. I'm going to come off the screen, get 2 free throws. We're going to walk out of this gym, right? Okay, call a timeout. We get the ball at half. They lied to Caitlin Clark. And then Stephanie White has to explain herself after she almost cost them the game.
The fascinating part of this story isn't the criticism. It's the division. Rarely has a fan base been so passionate while simultaneously disagreeing so strongly about what they're seeing. One side believes Indiana is building correctly. They point to progress. They point to growth. They point to victories. They believe patience is required. The other side sees warning signs. They worry opportunities are being wasted. Clark's arrival changed everything. Attendance records, television ratings, national attention. The entire landscape shifted. With that growth came higher standards. Fans no longer view Indiana as a rebuilding team. They view Indiana as a franchise responsible for maximizing generational talent. That expectation creates enormous pressure. Every game becomes important. As discussions intensified, another question emerged. What does Caitlin Clark actually think about all of this? Because while fans argued online, the most important voice remained relatively quiet until she finally addressed the conversation herself. And what she said surprised many people. As rumors continued spreading throughout June 2026, Caitlin Clark eventually addressed many of the narratives directly. Her response wasn't explosive, it wasn't emotional, and it certainly wasn't what some people expected. Instead, Clark pushed back against much of the speculation. Most importantly, she rejected the idea that every difficult moment represented a major internal crisis. That response frustrated some fans. Others found it reassuring, but it revealed something important. There is often a massive difference between public perception and internal reality. Fans experience games emotionally. Players experience them professionally. Supporters may spend days discussing a controversial possession. Players often move on immediately and focus on the next opponent. Clark's comments highlighted that distinction. She acknowledged challenges, she acknowledged frustrations, but she also emphasized perspective. Professional sports are difficult. Disagreements happen. Mistakes happen. Pressure exists. None of that automatically means relationships are broken. None of that automatically means someone wants to leave. Yet even after her comments, the conversation refused to disappear. The biggest threat facing the Fever isn't a trade request. It isn't a locker room dispute. It isn't a viral social media controversy. It's expectation. Expectation can elevate a franchise. It can also overwhelm one. Indiana now carries responsibilities few organizations have ever experienced. They aren't simply developing a roster. They're managing the face of a league. Every move matters. Every decision matters. The good news for the Fever is that much of the discussion comes from passion. People care. People watch. People invest emotionally. That's a powerful foundation. The challenge is converting that attention into sustained success, championship contention, organizational stability, long-term trust. Those goals require patience. They require communication. They require leadership. Most importantly, they require alignment between everyone involved.
Kelsey Mitchell was 7 of 17 for 19 points. Bro, if this lady not scoring, she don't do nothing. She did have maybe this was a career high, 3 assists. I don't know. But you don't need to try to insert Kelsey Mitchell into everything. It's the Clark Show with Aaliyah Boston. The 2-man game as it's supposed to be. As it's supposed to be. The Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston 2-man pick and roll show, nonstop, unstoppable. What are you talking about, Kelsey Mitchell?
It was the Clark Show today.
You don't want to give Caitlin Clark any credit. You don't want to credit her in the locker room. None of that. You didn't mention her 32-point double-double with 7 rebounds. You mentioned none of it. You talked about everything but Caitlin Clark. It's disgusting, bro.
The greatest organizations create environments where stars thrive. That's the standard Indiana must pursue moving forward. Not because Clark has announced she's leaving, not because a departure is imminent, but because maintaining greatness requires constant effort. And as the spotlight continues growing, that responsibility only becomes larger. The next few seasons could define an entire era of WNBA basketball. The question is whether Indiana can rise to the moment. Despite the headlines, speculation, and viral debates, there is currently no confirmation that Caitlin Clark is leaving the Indiana Fever. But what this controversy revealed is something equally important. Fans are watching every move, every decision, every relationship. because they understand just how valuable a player like Caitlin Clark truly is. Whether the Fever can turn enormous expectations into long-term success may become one of the defining stories in all of sports, and that's why this conversation isn't ending anytime soon. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and let us know in the comments. Do you believe Indiana Fever is doing enough to build around Caitlin Clark, or are fans right to be concerned about the future?